Okay. Hello. I don't know who we've got in the chat. Hello, Jez, Steve, Ryan, Anvil. Hope everybody is doing well. Okay. Martha seems less interested in this than I thought she was going to. I thought she'd be all over the Tasks of Tantalon. But so far, she seems pretty chilled out about it. So we'll see if she gets more involved in a bit. But thank you all for coming along. So yeah, first public live stream. I've done a couple of live streams on the Patreon book club chat, so GW Books Club, where we get together and we talk about the latest GW books that we're going through. So we are making our way through all 17 of those different books, and every single month talking about them. I'm going to take this off because I think it's probably going to get super annoying very quickly. But yeah, we talk about the GW books. Most of them are Warhammer Fantasy. Some of them are anthologies. There's a couple of 40k books in there as well. And we get on the live stream and we talk about them. So I've done some live streams, but they've been a sort of very small group of people who are super committed to the GW books. So this is my first public one. So we'll see how this goes and how long I can last. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, Ryan, you were saying that you're only just dropping by to say hello before you go to bed, 3 a.m. So, wow, thank you for staying up if you stayed up for this. I appreciate it. And, yeah, we've got Anvil, so you're just going to be intermittently present. But that's right, Jez. I'm afraid it was. It's got an annoying bell on the end, so I had to take it off. Normally, we would today be doing the GW Books Club. We do them on the third Sunday each month. Because we're not doing one for December, because there's obviously a lot on, everyone's super busy, I'm super busy, it's not been possible to do it. So that's why we're doing this instead. And this is the Tasks of Tantalon. So if you're not familiar with this, this is a puzzle quest book, one of two that were published by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone as a sort of extension of the Fighting Fantasy series. It wasn't just a sort of dedicated Fighting Fantasy book, although the Cascade of Souls, which was the Ian Livingstone quest book, puzzle quest, that one is tied into Fighting Fantasy. It's actually set in the same place, and it's got a bit more of a relationship with some of the stuff that happens in the Fighting Fantasy universes and those stories. I think Task of Tantalon is a bit more separate. I'm not 100% sure on that because there's a lot of ties between these different releases, but I think it's mostly separate. But the idea was to take a great illustrator, in this case Stephen Lavis, and have them illustrate full colour, full page illustrations, really beautiful stuff, and then embed within those images a puzzle, a very tough puzzle. So Steve Jackson did the first one. It seems to have been inspired by Kit Williams's Masquerade, which is a fascinating story I'd love to tell at some point. If you're not familiar with that, that was the same sort of thing. It's a sort of lavish, big illustrated book, but within the illustrations of Masquerade, there is a quest, a puzzle that allows you to find a real physical item that Kit Williams, the artist and author, had buried somewhere in the UK. So he'd crafted this golden hair, which made of real gold, and he'd actually gone out into a field somewhere and he'd buried it in the mud, and that was that was the quest. You had to find out the location of that golden hair by working your way through those illustrations. It was a national phenomenon. Everyone was talking about it. Everybody was super involved and doing lots of stuff. There's just a fascinating story there. It sort of didn't end in quite the exciting way you might have hoped, because there was a bit of fudging, and the guys who found it didn't quite find it, and then someone sort of came in and snaked it and pretended to be someone else. It's an interesting story with a very interesting ending. But it feels like that may have inspired Steve Jackson and Sir Ian Livingstone to create this one in order to actually have their own puzzle quest, their own set of illustrations. So I've flicked through this over the years. I've taken a look at it. I've seen some of the illustrations. I've never properly attempted the Tasks of Tantalon or the Casket of Souls. As I understand it, Ian Livingstone's Casket of Souls is the harder of the two, but my expectations and suspicions are that this is going to be really, really hard. I don't think this is going to be a very easy one to complete. So I think we're probably, I think this is going to be a challenge. I'm going to have to rely on your help here as well. Fortunately, Steve Jackson did publish a couple of years later the solution. I think because they knew it was so hard and people were really struggling. So Games Workshop were actually the publisher for it. It cost £1, a little pamphlet, and that has all of the answers in it. What I quite like about that is that the solution, the secret of the Tasks of Tantalon, is presented by Steve Jackson initially in the first few pages as hints and tips, and then he puts the actual full resolution on the back page. So you can get some, it's like one of those old Brady's or whoever used to publish them, the guides they would do for video games, where you actually would get all of the maps and you'd get all of the clues and all of the locations of the monsters and stuff. So there is a way to get more information if we need it, and the solution if we need that as well. But let's see how far we get. I don't think I'm going to get very far. I think this is going to be really, really hard. I'm gonna change my lighting just to go to my standard lighting because I forgot to do that before. There we go. That's a bit nicer, isn't it? A little less harsh. So, Jez, you've mentioned that you got hold of it in a charity shop and you've only just sort of taken a look at some of the art. Has anybody else in the chat actually got the Tasks of Tantalon? If you've completed it, please don't share the actual solutions, or if you know them, if you've read the solutions book. But I absolutely would welcome people's views and hints and tips and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to put up on screen the pages that I'm looking at. There's a bit of a story that we need to tell as well that should give us some clues to help us start actually solving it. But like I say, I've not really delved into this properly myself, and I think it's going to be tough. So let's jump in to... So the first thing that I think is in here is the map of Galaria. So this is on the inside cover. On the front and back, we've actually got the map of Galaria. I'm just now going to double check if it's the same numbers. It is. So it looks like it's the same map on the inside cover at the front and the inside cover at the back. Apologies in advance for some of these photographs. I've literally just taken photos of my copy of the book on my kitchen side. So if it helps, you can imagine that black sort of void as some sort of space-like environment, some cosmic, magical environment where the tome sits. But yeah, we've got this map which tells us the land of Galaria. Obviously, you've got a load of places in here. We got Crag Rock Peaks, Casper, Chesog the Ham. That sounds fun. Weirtown, Stin, River Weir, Aiken. So loads of places in here. North, east, south, west. So standard compass. I don't know why that took me ages to read through. And then there are 4 numbers. So each in the corner, on each corner, there's a separate number. We've got 34, 78, 12, and 56 going clockwise around. I think that's also Tantalon looking over the top, the land of Galaria there. Some random person with a bird of prey down in the bottom right. So I don't know if there's any clues in here. The numbers feel relevant immediately. So I don't know if that's going to come back. Why on earth there'd be numbers on the map? 34, 78, 12, and 56. Okay, I'm already terribly worried about how complicated this is going to be. Steve, never good at puzzles. You're here for moral support. I very much appreciate it. I would love to just be here for moral support myself, because I suspect that my puzzle solving skills are going to be lacking a lot here. Anvil, similarly, not good at puzzles. Prestige, you've actually got Casket of Souls, but not this one. As I understand it, Casket of Souls is even harder, and the Ian McCaig art is absolutely gorgeous in that one as well. I would love to spend some time on Casket of Souls. I feel like it would just absolutely break my mind, though. So we'll have to see about that at some point. It is beautiful artwork. Both of them have beautiful artwork. And I think if we take a look, let's jump over to our first sort of portrait page. So the Tasks of Tantalon, a puzzle quest book. Do you have the wisdom, wit, and courage to complete Tantalon's great adventure quest? So devised and written by Steve Jackson, illustrated by Stephen Lavis. It was a Oxford University Press. We've obviously got this knight character who we also, it might be the same chap who was on the cover. On the cover, he actually had like a falcon or a bird of prey. On this page, he is obviously wearing that on his outfit there. So I feel like this guy's going to be relevant in some way. And then we'll go into the actual start of the story. So I believe this is going to then help us understand what we're actually trying to solve. Because I think this is the other thing. As far as I understand it, Casket of Souls, like the actual puzzles, they're like, you don't even know what you're trying to solve. So it just presents loads of information, and then you're just going to have to try and work through it. So I don't know. James got this in the early 90s, tried a few times, but never solved it. Incredibly challenging. Yeah, and I think it's probably one of these things that has stood the test of time and remains challenging. I would like to think that, okay, well, it came out, it came out when did it come out? The late 80s, the early 90s, I forget. And it probably was really tough if you were a teenager and you were doing some stuff. You were like interested in lots of fighting fantasy stuff around that time. 1985 it came out. So I'd like to think, well, I'm a bit older, a bit more experienced, I've done more puzzles, I've seen more quests over the years. Maybe I am more, like, better equipped for trying to solve this now. But I also suspect that actually, when I was a lot younger and I was just playing fighting fantasy games all the time and playing role-playing games every weekend and spending way more time just fully immersed in fantasy worlds and fantasy quests, it makes me wonder if actually I might have been better equipped as a kid to try and solve this, because now all of that extra stuff, all of that extra experience is just gubbins that's filled my mind with nonsense, and none of it's relevant to a fantasy quest, especially one that seems like it's going to have that sort of Arthurian vibe, because we've got Tantalon, who seems a bit of a Merlin kind of character. We've got knights. I'm interested to see where this one goes story-wise. Disc Eva, thank you for the positive puzzle vibes. I'm going to need them. And Oxford University Press, flashbacks to your uni days. Well, if anyone was talking about this game, the puzzle quest, at the time when you were at uni, just see if you can remember some of what they said, because maybe there's clues and hints from people who were doing it when it first came out, I wonder. James, you say you didn't actually have the map in your copy. That's really interesting. So, well, I mean, that would imply that it's not actually that big a clue. Maybe it's just setting the scene, kind of giving us the sort of right vibes to get started. So maybe those numbers aren't too important. So that is interesting. Okay, should we start the story? So here's our Tantalon. Here is our Merlin figure. And he, I guess, is going to set us on this quest. So, the War of the Four Kingdoms was over. Tantalon replaced his quill. The Treaty of Peace had been negotiated, agreed, and was now sealed in writing. The four nobles rose to their feet. A fanfare sounded as the others turned away from the aging wizard and walked towards the door. Slowly and deliberately, Tantalon lowered himself into his seat and sighed. The war had been long and bloody, a senseless waste of life. The death toll had even taken Galantaria's own King Constantine and his queen, ambushed and butchered by Northlanders in Narrow Pass. This tragedy had dealt a severe blow to the kingdom of Galantaria. The king had left no heirs. Who was to rule? An emergency meeting of the Knights of the Inner Council was called. There was much vying for power as the knights argued. For 2 days and nights, the debate continued fruitlessly. Finally, It was the bearded Sir Duke who suggested that the crown be held by Tantalon, sorcerer of the court. Tantalon, a wise man whose loyalty to Galantaria was beyond question, a man whose devotions to the mystic arts placed him above their own mundane political ambitions. Tantalon was a prime candidate. The matter was quickly agreed. As it turned out, the aging sorcerer was a fine choice. A brilliant strategist, his battle plans altered the course of the war. 2 years later, Galantaria's power had been established. The other 3 kingdoms were ready for truce. But the war had proved a great strain for Tantalon. His strength was fading. The treaty of peace, though formally signed, would last no more than a year. Neighbouring Bryce was an unruly kingdom and would not hold to its terms of peace for long. Right, so just to recap, we now know there has been a war of 4 kingdoms. The king has been killed and Tantalon took over power of the realms. The neighbouring realms seem a bit tricky, Bryce in particular. Interesting that the ambush where the king was killed, the king and queen were killed, was in Narrow Pass. So I think that's probably on the map somewhere. Potentially we can come back and take a look at that. We know Bryce is on the map. You can see that. And then we've got, to continue the story, Tantalon realised that his successor must be found, and quickly, before the scheming inner council usurped the throne. This was one problem, but there were many others. During the war, affairs of the homeland had been neglected, and many affairs needed attention, too many for an old man. Tantalon was deep in thought. Which were the most pressing? Undoubtedly, recovery of the Crystal of Supremacy was imperative. Pilfered in the Ham on its way to Lendal, the Regency jewel had fallen into the hands of the wicked Man-Bull when the plundering thieves unwittingly chose the Minotaur's labyrinth as a hiding place. This heirloom of Galantaria's regency must be returned to the court. Winter was coming, and the kingdom must eat. The netherworld sorcerers had cursed the coast with a ferocious demon fish, which tore apart fishing vessels and could eat a man whole. Since that day, no fisherman would dare put to sea, should he sail to the fishing ports to seek out the monster. But then the grain harvest had been poor, and unless the Eid tide could be tamed, the cropland would again be flooded, ruining the next autumn's harvest. Perhaps he ought to ride downstream to check the dam's progress. Or perhaps grain could be brought from neighbouring Ruddlestone. But the war effort had severely depleted his treasury. Could he raise taxes? Not a good idea, as this would mean starvation for many of the peasants. But gold reserves were low. And gold reserves? His anger rose at the thought of that unpunished scavenger beast lurking in the crag rocks, the Brimstone Dragon, plundering hard-earned wealth from the Whitewater Valley. But none would venture to the crag rock foothills to match the creature, none of sound mind at least, except perhaps the mighty Hornhelm, champion of Foreign. But Tantalon was forgetting. Hornhelm was no more. His bravery at the Battle of Skin had won Galantaria the day, but cost the man of bronze his life. A posthumous knighthood must be awarded to honour him and his widow. Hornhelm had been a fearless warrior, bowing neither to beast nor magic user. How Tantalon wished he was still at court. So, there's still more story to go, but I'll just take a break for a second to review. So we now know there's actually going to be a lot of different things that need solving, I suspect. So I've seen some of the pictures, I've flicked through, and you can actually see, yeah, there's lots of weird and wonderful stuff. I guess what we're actually going to be doing is trying to solve all of the separate problems of the court and Galantaria the kingdom, presumably in order to convince Tantalon that we are ready to take on the throne, become the new king or queen and take over. Iron Reaver, hello. You picked the book up a month ago, completely stumped. Okay, well that's not promising. Maybe you've solved one or two, or you've got some clues from your ruminations that you can share, hopefully. Jez, you wonder if Tantalon is from Tantalus, whose salvation was always just out of reach. I mean, that certainly sounds about right, doesn't it? Tantalizing. And Amphil, winter is coming, so he's a Stark. Yeah, definitely. I did wonder if maybe good grief. Wow, completely gone out of my head. Martin had read it when he saw that. Okay, so we're going to have to do a couple of things we know for sure now. I think we need to find the Crystal of Supremacy, which was pilfered in the Ham on its way to Lendl. So that's the Regency jewel. We are going to have to solve this issue of demon fish, ferocious demon fish. That sounds exciting. There's a grain harvest issue. Something with the dam is going to have to be taken a look at. Or grain could be bought from neighbouring Ruddlestone. Seems unlikely that we're going to have to do any solving of the balances and balance sheets and stuff, but maybe. And there's a dragon, the Brimstone dragon, that we're going to have to deal with, who lives in the Crag Rock. It also mentions this mighty Hornhelm, a champion of Foreign, who is passed away. I wonder if we're going to have to recover some of his armor or something. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. To continue the story then, the sorcerer's thoughts turned to his other nobles. There was little hope for Sir Duke the Merciful, whose good nature had led him into a simple trap. Sent east to defend the Witchtooth line, his own troops had borne witness as he turned to stone before the cunning Medusa posing as a beggar woman. As he stepped up to drop a coin into her cup, her shroud fell back to reveal that hideous serpent-haired head. And bold Sir Dunstable, en route up the Border River, captured by river pirates and held captive at Stinn Castle. Most certainly a rescue expedition must be dispatched straight away to free the knight. Then there was Tag. Tantalon's teeth ground tightly at the thought. Yes, King Tag must be dragged from his rat hole wherever he was. Even 2 years of war had not wiped the memory of Tag's treachery at Narrow Pass from Tantalon's mind. The traitor must be brought to justice. Fagorn, the blind seer, or perhaps the four princes may know of Tag's whereabouts. They were all from the North Kingdom. But no, the Ham princes were being held by the Night Priests. Another expedition must be organised. Would this curse of evil ever be wiped from the land? That vermin pit at Weirtown must be first for the scourge. Tantalon sighed. So many things to do. So many things to do. These thoughts and more tormented the wizard as he rested after the signing ceremony. Eventually, Tantalon raised himself from his throne. He had decided what to do. 3 days later, horsemen were dispatched to the four corners of the kingdom announcing a challenge. Adventurers and fortune hunters from far and wide began to arrive at the castle gates of Royal Lendl. Tantalon had decided that the court needed new blood, new ideas, new faces, a new breath of life. To search out the wisest, most intelligent and courageous minds in the kingdom, he had designed a grand adventure quest which would test the abilities of all those who entered to their limits. No one, he thought, would be capable of fulfilling all these labours. But at the back of his mind, there was a spark of hope. As the many hundreds of contestants made their way to take up the challenge at Royal Lendl, you arrived at the wizard's court. Gaining audience with Tantalon himself, you received your instructions on a scroll of parchment. The scroll describes 12 challenging tasks, each a trial of wisdom and ingenuity, and each with one common theme. The solution to each task is a number. The winning contestant must add up the 12 numbers, one for each task, and return to the court with the correct total. This final number can only be discovered if all 12 tasks have been successfully completed. With this final answer, the contestant may claim the reward of Tantalon. Can you succeed in Galantaria's greatest contest? Have you the valour, the wisdom, and the determination to succeed in an adventure quest which became known as the Tasks of Tantalon. Whew. Okay, well that's quite a lot of setup. That's quite a lot of setup there. But it sounds then like, yeah, we've got 12 tasks to complete. And from each of those tasks, we will get a number. I'll skip through some of this. So that's just the quest there. Let's jump over just so you can see some of the art. And then we can start talking about what we're actually going to have to do. So there you go. So that's the first sort of page of the actual art. Yeah, Iron Reaver, I totally agree. I think the art is beautiful. It's really, really nice. Super detailed. There's so much going on in here. It's very, yeah, really interesting. Very cool. Very well done. I kind of agree, Jess. The reckon is the kingdom is proper doomed. That's a lot of bad stuff going on. Yeah, I would say that there is quite a lot of challenges. And we're going to have to solve some of these. So just flicking through, I can see that, yeah, we've got a couple of things. We've got the actual... There's the fish, the demon fish that we're going to have to deal with. There's the hag witch of Waretown. We've got to try and free the 4 sages. We've got to face down the dragon Brimstone. There is the princes of Ham, who have been waylaid by sorcery. Looks like they've been turned into frogs, so that one looks fun. There is the Minotaur in his labyrinth. There is... Wow. I mean, yeah. We've got to find King Tag. In fact, I'll just flick through so you can just see some of these gorgeous pages. So there's your demon fish. Then we've got the Hag of Waretown. We've got this, I mean, who knows? We've got to try and solve some sort of weird thing at the dam to make sure the dam is still working. There's the Brimstone Dragon. These are the princes who may have been turned into frogs. The Minotaur, we're going to have to deal with him. Something going on with, I don't know, the time ring. I mean, that sounds fun. That's the back to the maps there. So, have I got all of the pages? I think I may have missed a page. Oh dear. Because we've also got King Tag, who's out and about, that we need to try and deal with. Yeah, and then there's loads more. But the Medusa, I don't think we're going to get that far today, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. And yeah, I think you're quite right, Anvil. There are new numbers all over this. I don't blame you running off to do the laundry instead. Yeah, there's numbers all over these pages. Let's jump back to... Here we go. So this is our first one. I think that we're going to have to... I think this is going to be a tough one. Release Sir Dunable of Aiken 4 moons ago as captive taken. So a little rhyme. I will read the text and then we can take a look across the actual page and see if we can see anything here. So, the port at Eadfork bustled with activity as merchants, fishermen and seafarers went about their business. You quickly located a vessel which would take you up the Border River. It was a cargo ship. Captain Shankerman at the helm. Sir Dunstable, eh? Said Shankerman, as you explained the purpose of your trip. Yes, I knew the man, and a fine gentleman he was. He and Sir Clance of Signet were set upon by river pirates as they sailed up the border. Old Dunstable was given up as dead, but a fat merchant from Thax told me he'd been captured and slung into the dungeons at Stinn Castle. Eventually the fort at Stinn came into view. Shankerman pointed it out. His voice dropped to a whisper. See that tall oak just in front of the castle? Just by its trunk, you'll find an opening which leads right into the dungeons. Take care, and good luck to you. He did not lie. A trapdoor hidden in the grass by the tall tree opened the way to the bowels of the castle. You followed the narrow passage to its end. You now stand in a dimly lit corridor in the Stinn dungeon. Cautiously searching the dungeon, you open a door into a torture room from which a low moaning is coming. You stifle a gasp as you recognize the emaciated figure of Sir Dunstable. He is suspended over a flaming pit by a rope connected to a lever by a mechanism by a complex series of pulleys. You step up to the lever and consider the mechanisms. You will raise him from the pit if you move the lever in the correct direction. But if you choose the wrong position, you will seal the fate of the noble knight. Can you rescue the good knight? Okay. I'm a bit worried about Sir Dunable. So as you can see, there is on one page, the full page illustration, we've got this massive complex mechanism, all of these different pulleys and stuff going in all sorts of different directions. We've got Sir Dunable hanging just above this flaming pit. He's on this rope. Presumably then, we push or pull in one direction with the mechanism, and then that should, in theory, raise up Sir Dunable and get him out of harm's way. What can we actually see on the page that's going to help us with this? So the mechanism underneath the text, so on the left-hand side, we've actually got 5 and 1 on either side of the lever. To which position will you move the lever? So we can move it to 5 or we can move it to 1. There are numbers around the text. So up top left, we've got 176, and then 189, 193, and then 199. Interestingly, the 199 bottom left is actually kind of covered up by a sort of stone weight, a counterweight. So who knows what that's about. On the right-hand side, around the mechanism, around all of the stuff, we've then actually got 4 skulls and some rats as well. The skulls have each got... So the top 2 skulls are missing different teeth. I don't know if that's relevant. They've each only got one eye, left and then right. There's a hole in one of them, a crack and a hole. And then we've got some keys dangling from one of the skulls. So, looking at the keys, there's also some numbers on the keys, 15 and 16. And do I see another number there? Is that another number? 11, maybe? I'm just going to get my camera. There's 3 keys dangling there. So, Ronnie, there's 3 keys to see. One of them has got... Just trying to work out if that's another number. Yes, so the smallest one at the back says 11, the biggest one at the front says 15, and then the other one says 16. So those are numbers that are on the keys. And then we've got numbers all around the thing. I just don't know if there's any other numbers inside the actual imagery. I'm not seeing anything. Looks like there's a letter A in the actual archway just above the mechanism. So between the 2 skulls, it looks like there's a letter A and then another one, but that could just be cracks in the actual stonework. So that's something to come back to. Samuel, this is way too much thinking for a Sunday morning, but I'm intrigued. Oh man, tell me about it. I think I've already done way more thinking than I was expecting to. Where's the word searches? I thought this was going to be simple stuff. We can't even roll any dice to try and solve this. Jez, your tiny brain hurts already. I don't believe it. I think we'll be able to get through some of this. We'll get through some of this. Come on, what we got? I am kind of already stumped. So we need to move the lever to 5 or to 1. So presumably we're going to need to calculate something using the numbers that we've got. Varga, you've never done a puzzle like this and you're already stressed out about it. I don't blame you. I think we'll save Sir Dunable though in time, even if we need to go and use the solutions that we've got there. Ronnie, I hope it doesn't want us to figure out which way the wheels spin because it's a geared system. Jez, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, probably not too much help. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing we're working out here, thinking about it, so we're trying to get the numbers for each of the tasks. There's 12 tasks that Tantalon has set, and we need one number from each of them. So is it that we're going to find out on this page whether it's 5 or it's 1, and then from that tells us whether we go left or right, and then from that we get the number 5 or 1 for our broader task? I've not explained that very well at all. Basically, I'm wondering, do we have to work out whether we just go left or right, or are we going to calculate something that's going to give us a 5 or a 1, and that's going to tell us whether we go left or right to solve this particular puzzle? Because looking at the actual gears and the mechanisms, it seems like that's going to be almost impossible to work out. Like, I don't think, surely we wouldn't be able to actually work out pulling it this way is going to make that bit go this way, and that's going to make this bit go that way. Yeah. My guess, so you're saying prestige, my guess is to work out how the gears interact, and then you get that number for the task, and it's 5 or 1. The other numbers may be helpful later. Yeah. So the thing is, if we pull, so it does actually have, there's like a string coming off of the lever that goes onto the rest of the mechanism. So theoretically, we could work out if we pull it this way. So if we go right, so that's going to move that. So you move the lever right, and that's going to move the bottom of the lever left. So that's going to give you more slack, which is going to then release. That's going to move that down. That's going to... Oh my gosh. If we do that, it moves the first cog clockwise. So if that moves clockwise, that then moves clockwise, and that moves clockwise. So yeah, so that goes clockwise, that goes clockwise. That pulls that, which then goes clockwise, and then the next one goes clockwise, and the next one goes clockwise, which means the following one goes counter clockwise. So that goes left, which means the next one, if that goes left, then that pulls that way, that pulls that one that way. If that one pulls that one that way, then that rotates that way, which rotates the next one, which rotates this one this way. Okay. And then that moves that this way as well. That goes that way, which then will rotate. So if that goes that way, oh my gosh. If that goes this way, that then is going to rotate that. Oh my god. Ah, okay. So that's going like that, which is going to move that one like that, which is going to move that like that. And if that moves, sorry, I know this is probably doesn't make any sense. That moves that like that, which moves that like that, which moves that like that. This doesn't make any sense. Which will move that like that, 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 which moves that like that. So that would lower him. So I think that I'm sorry, I don't know if you followed any of that. What I was trying to do was work out, if you pull the string one direction, that moves this gear, which moves that gear, which moves this gear, and so on. I think that then gets me to a place where pulling the lever right releases the slack on the system, which then turns a load of the gears, which then lowers Sir Dunable into the flaming pit. So that therefore means that it should be the other way. So I think, based on my extremely effective calculations running through the actual system, I think the first number from this is 5. Jez, what's the Elvish word for friend? You think that one's going to solve? That's going to get us through every single one. That's going to get us through every single one of these puzzles. I hope it does. I really do. So, Ronna, you're saying it's just clockwise or counterclockwise? 1, the weighted gear goes clockwise. 5 goes counterclockwise on the same gear. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Counterclockwise. That's right. So yeah, it's good news because it's binary, and I think then I think it is 5 because I think that what I've just tried to work out with all of the different cogs and gears would indicate that going to 1, the 1 position, will lower him into the flames. I mean, I suppose you could work it out the other way. You could reverse engineer it, right? You could go back the other way and go, okay, well, if we want to raise him up, then the first cog needs to rotate this way. I mean, it's interesting because you can visibly see all of the cogs. You can see all of the cables and the ties and all that sort of stuff. So it probably is that you're supposed to work it out that way. I am curious about the numbers. Do we need them for something later on? We know there are 4. The number 4 has been mentioned a couple of times in the original story. So there were 4 kingdoms. There are 4 princes in the inner circle, I think. Are these numbers in the corners of the page? Do they relate to the 4 kingdoms or something? Are we going to have to use that some point somewhere else? I don't know. I think for now, I'm willing to go with 5 as the first number, which I'm going to take a note of. And I think we start there. Prestige, you've gone the other way. Thank you for doing that, because I was going to be painful if everybody had to listen to me try and do that one again. And you got the same results, so that's great. So we're saying the first one, Dunstable, the number is 5. In that case, so I've added it to my notes. Okay, well, we might have 1. We might have actually done that first one. Keep those fingers crossed. I think, Samuel, you're saying that it seems like a fun puzzle, but you're struggling with it on a phone screen. I vote for wiggle the lever left to right really fast. Yeah, I mean, I imagine looking at this on a phone screen is probably a tough one. I think wiggling it left and right, same with switching it on and off again. Whoever suggested that earlier. Oh, it was you, Samuel. Yeah, I think they're both good suggestions. I think that might be what we have to come to later on if we really start to struggle. Let's take a look then at the next puzzle and see what that one tells us. This is the demon fish. So, the demon fish must terrorize no more the shores of Fickling Rise. So yeah, we've got a little rhyming couplet at the start of each page. The one with Sir Dunstable, just looking again at that one, released Sir Dunstable of Aiken 4 moons ago as captive taken. So that 4 coming up, I think the number 4 is relevant. It actually occurs to me that numbers might turn up in the text as well. So, Steve, you're just saying you think the answer is also 5. Yeah, okay, that's good. So it sounds like we've got some consensus on the first one, so that's nice to see. So the demon fish. The second stage of your quest takes you to Fickling, a fortified town at the mouth of the Ede. A tall castle, high on the rise, overlooks the sea. Just down from the castle on the seashore is a small fishing village where a spirit of gloom hangs in the air. You eat that night at an inn, arriving at a table with the local fishermen. Their eyes widen as you explain your arrival. Their laughter mocks you. A fisherman shouts out, "And they tell us that Tantalon is a wise man. Ha! First of all, he sends that young whippersnapper Sir Bede for supervision of the vermin pit. Then he sends us you to rid us of the demon fish. Why, the fellow is surely age-crazed." "Be not a fool, stranger," adds a gruff-voiced old man puffing on a long clay pipe. "No fisherman alive can take that monster, and none of sound mind will be foolhardy enough to try." Later, as you lie in your bed, you consider how best to tackle the great beast. First of all, you must find out what you can about the creature, where it swims and what it eats. You spend the next morning learning the habits of the sea creatures. Then, before you can begin to fish for the demon fish, you must buy your bait. What bait will you buy to help you fish for the demon fish? Minnows will cost you 3 copper pieces. Worms will cost 2 copper pieces. Flies or meat will be more expensive at 6 and 7 copper pieces respectively. Choose your bait carefully. How many copper pieces will you spend? Oh no. Okay. So we need to work out what the demon fish eats, so that we can then buy the bait to go fishing for it and spend that amount of money. And obviously the amount of money that we spend will then give us the number that we're looking for the broader task. So I think there's a lot of fish on this page. I wonder how we're going to work this one out. So what else have we got on the page? Let's just run through the pages. Again, we've got 4 numbers. We've got the 4 numbers in the corners of the left-hand page. We've got some gulls at the top of the page. We've got a couple of armored knight riding shrimp and prawns here down at the bottom. That's really fun. And then on the other page, we have got loads of different fish and animals. So there's all sorts of stuff here. We've got lobsters, we've got fish, we've got more gulls, we've got an octopus, we've got crabs. So there's all kinds of stuff in here. Again, there's some prawns. There's, in the middle of the image, this large sea creature, presumably the demon fish. And then there is a ship being assailed by both the stormy seas and the fish itself. Now, I think that's a good shout, Jez. How many minnows are there? How many flies, etc.? So we could literally just count them up and see if we can work out sort of numbers from this. Because the things that we're looking for here, we've got minnows, worms, flies, or meat. And I wonder, I don't think I've seen any meat at all. There are definitely flies. I mean, we can see the minnows. Minnows are super small on here. But there is, just looking at this, there's at least 1, 2, 3. I think I see 3 minnows. And minnows cost you 3 pieces. That's interesting. Flies. There's also some flies to be seen. I think I can see 1 up at the top. I can see another one down at the bottom middle. Another one on the right-hand side. So that would make 3 so far for the flies as well. I don't know that I see any worms at all. And I also don't think I see any meat on here. So that makes me wonder if it's probably not... Well, I mean, would that make it not those guys, I guess? Oh, wait. There is a worm. It's currently being eaten by a fish. Oh, and there's another one being eaten. Okay. So we have got worms, but we've got to actually see if we can find them in the mouths of some of these animals. And you say you've seen a 4th fly as well, Jez. That's I'm not sure I see the 4th fly. I can only see 3 so far. What are the colours of the bait? So the minnows are like a black, very, very small, very, very small. In fact, let me just zoom in so you can see them for a second. on screen. So you can see up here above the red fish's mouth, you can see a fly, and then I think you can just see. I know it's very ugly, but you might be able to see a tiny little minnow just above the sort of eel over there. So that hopefully will give you a sense of how small these guys are, hidden away in the image. I'll just put that right. So I don't know that colours is going to be the thing, Ronnie, just because it's too hard to even see the colours, really. Jez, you're saying there's 4 flies. Ronnie, what's getting me is it looks like the clue to what it eats is that it's going after a red fish. Yeah, that's interesting. Would that count as meat, though? I don't know that you'd... Because fish is not a bait, a type of bait that we can buy. James Newhouse, you need to start with what the demon fish eats and work backwards, totaling up the cost of each bait all the way back. Okay, what? So that's an interesting... Some bait you can't buy, you have to catch yourself. That's an interesting idea. What? So if we want to catch... redfish. Okay. So you're suggesting that if you want to catch that kind of red fish, we'd have to catch that by catching... We'd have to use a different bait to catch something, to catch the next thing, to catch the next thing, to catch the red fish, to catch the actual demon fish itself. Okay. I mean, that's an interesting idea. Let's take a look at that fish... So the fish that the demon fish is trying to eat is currently trying to eat a tiny... it's like a smaller fish with like a lower fin. A lower fin, as if that helps. It's got an orange patch on its side. That fish is eating a fish with a blue line down its back. That fish with a blue line down its back is eating a sort of small kind of... is eating a kind of small little, not a minnow, but a small fish. And that one is actually eating a fly. Yes, that's on a banner eating a fly. Okay. I mean, that's quite good. That's a good shout. Yeah, the one on the flag, Jez beat me to it, absolutely. So that's the 4th fly, and that one is actually being eaten. So I don't think that's the minnow. I think that because the minnow is even smaller than that, isn't it? I think the second red fish, you need to see what it's eating. Yeah, so Ronnie, I think you're right. It looks like it's eating a smaller fish, and the question is what eating that fish. And then Steve, yeah, Circle of Life. Anvil, it might be the feeding chain. So I think that is absolutely right. Old woman who swallowed a fly vibes. Yeah. I think that's right. So, but I challenge what we say here though, because I don't think that one on the banner is a minnow. So I think that's Jez. Are you saying that you see the one on the banner at the very top of the page as a minnow? Because I think the minnow is even smaller. It's the absolutely tiny little black fish, I think, is the minnow. So I think the one that's on the banner is the fish that we're looking for earlier in the chain, and I think that is eating a fly. And flies are for sale. Flies or meat will be more expensive at 6 and 7 copper pieces respectively. So flies would actually be 6 coins. 6 copper pieces. So I think I'm willing to call that one for now. I think that we've got flies at 6 as demon fish. So yeah, right. So what are you? So Jez, you're all right, but you're agreeing, Jez, that the fish on the banner, even if it is a minnow, is eating a fly. So the fly is the start of the chain. Right. Okay. Bill making stuff. Hey, mate. Yeah, we are struggling through our puzzle quest. the Tasks of Tantalon. For anybody else who's just joining, this is the second of the Tasks of Tantalon that we're trying to solve. We're trying to work out how to go fishing for a demon fish. And in order to do that, we've had to go through the chain of bait to find the kind of fish or the kind of bait that will catch the kind of fish that is being eaten by a fish that's being eaten by another fish that is being eaten by the demon fish. So that is right. So I think we're all agreed then. So Jez, you're saying we get the fly, that gets the minnow, then the piranha, then the redfish, then the redfish is being eaten by the demon fish. So I feel like that is correct. So yeah, flies cost us 6 copper pieces. So I've put that down on the notes. That means that we've now got 2 numbers. We've got the Sir Dunable number 5, and we've got the demon fish number 6. Okay, right. I feel like that's pretty good progress. I feel like we step into the next challenge. Okay, this one's almost like a Where's Wally? The Hag Witch of Weirtown runs free. Arrest this foe, bring her to me. Okay. That night, the festivities at Fickling are in your honour. The villagers are anxious to show their gratitude. The apothecary presents you with a special gift. He hands you a small vial of liquid. This potion, he announces, is my greatest achievement. Drink this, and for a short while you may walk unseen. I know you must face one of the fire breathers. With this, you will be safe. The next morning, your journey continues, following the river Weir to Weirtown, vermin pit of the kingdom. Unsavoury creatures from throughout Galaria have been drawn to Weirtown and its dark ways. The Hag Witch is a sorceress of great skill who is a constant nuisance to Galantaria's white magicians. You plan to surprise and subdue her before she can use her powers. Creeping up to her dwelling, you peep through the window. She is asleep in a chair. You heave at the door and charge into the room. In an instant, the sleeping figure has disappeared. A chuckle behind makes you spin round. The Hag Witch, cackling slyly, is hobbling down the steps from the door into the street. You have been tricked. But this old hobbling woman is no match for your speed. You spring forwards, but just as quickly you stop dead in your tracks, unable to believe your eyes. 2 identical witches are running on ahead. Seconds later, another double has appeared, and all 3 in turn turn the corner into the market square. You compose yourself and follow, but as you enter the market square, your hope dies. The cunning hag has continued the illusion, and now a number of likenesses have spread around the market. How will you catch her now? Your only chance is to pursue and capture each image of the Hag Witch. How many Hag Witches can you see? Right. Okay. We've got, yes, as you say, Bill, very creepy hag. Some very fun art. There's quite a few scattered around. This is going to be one of those interesting ones here because we've got the Hag Witch. She's above the poem as well, which may count as one. But then we've also got the 4 detail boxes around the actual image. And then we've got the image itself. So, Jez, you've counted on what you've already got 13. Can it be that easy? Can it be that easy that we just go like straight into all of the different things? Like we're literally just taking a look and going through. That sounds like it would be way too easy. Because we've got in the actual image, I think I can see what we've got 1 in the window. I don't think that's a hag looking side on. There's a hag at the bottom. There's another hag just below her. There's 1 in the middle of the page. There's just a disembodied hand with a crow in it, so that's fun. There's 1 in the background. There's another head sticking out behind some guy. There's another one behind this lady with the sort of drapes. And then there's 1 Do I see any more? No, I don't think so. So I'm just going to count these up then. So we've got the one above the poem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just taking the ones around the page. And then in the actual image, we've got another. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13 for the one who is just right at the very top in the tiny, tiny window. So that comes. So I've got the same as you've got, Jez. 13. Sam, I'm squinting to see if there's some magic eye stuff going on. I would not put it past it. Looking around, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else, any other hag witches buried deep in the image. Because I'm wondering, there's a lot of like random bits of hair. Is it possible we're going to see a hag witch sort of hiding inside someone's hair somewhere? Oh, you know what? Is there some mystery about the teeth? You're only trying to... Right. So, looking at the Hagwitch pictures, we've got missing teeth in the Hagwitch's mouth, right? So, if we take, say, just the top left, the detail picture at the side of the image in the box at the top left, we can see that the Hagwitch has got 6 teeth. So there's missing teeth either side, and then there's a gap in the middle. And the same number of teeth in all 4 of the sort of detailed boxes scattered around. But when we actually look into the image itself, not all of the Hagwitches who are in the image have the same number of teeth. Some of them you can't see because they're too far away. But there's a Hagwitch down at the front, a small. There's obviously there's the sort of biggest Hagwitch bottom left of the main image. The one that's just below her to the right, sort of poking out of her hair, has only 5 teeth. So is that a thing? Is that something worth bearing in mind? I don't know. Like, are we to rule her out because actually she's got a different number of teeth? But then looking at the other ones, there's just too many where there's too many where you just can't see because they're too far away. They're too far in the background. So, Prestige P, bottom one has blue eyes and different teeth. Jazz, you said she goes to your dentist. I can't tell the eye color. I can't see that in my copy. It looks kind of the same, and well, that could be my light here, but but yeah, is there a question mark about, because 13? I mean, am I just looking a gift horse in the mouth here, right? Because 13 seems like a nice easy number. We've got the one above the poem, we've got the 4 scattered around the page, and then we've just got a load in the actual image, and we can just count them up and go, right, job done, nice one. That just sounds so easy. Compared to some of the stuff we've seen so far, that sounds too easy to me. But you know what? I think I don't want to rule any of these Hagwitches out because, like I say, a lot of the ones further back, you just can't tell. You can't see the eye colour. You can't see the teeth in the mouth because they haven't been drawn because they're so far into the back of the image. So... And yeah, Ronnie, I think the question is, are we confident we found the gimmick? So is the gimmick like number of teeth or or eye color or some other thing? I don't know. I'm not confident about this one, but I'm also not sure that we're going to solve it. Ronnie, you're saying there's a lot of art in here that reminds me of the Maiden and Hag optical illusion. That's the one where it's almost like, oh no, I'm thinking of a different one, where you have 2 faces looking at each other, and then if you sort of shift your vision, the 2 faces disappear, and then the void between the 2 faces sort of emerges as like a vase or something like that. Whereas I think, yeah, it's the hag and the maiden. Is that the one where you flip it upside down, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, actually, what I thought was a hag is actually a maiden, and then you can go back. And then Sam Samuel, actually, yeah. Is it the normal women we're looking for? Yeah, Ronnie. It's a woman looking away or an old woman, depending on how you look at it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we're thinking of the same one. Yeah, that's an interesting question as well about... So, Samuel, you're saying, is it actually the normal women we're looking for? We have assumed here that the Hag Witch looks a certain way. How is she described? Let's just have another look. She's not really described physically. So, the Hag Witch is a sorceress of great skill who is a constant nuisance to Galantaria's white magicians. She's asleep in the chair, a chuckle behind you, cackling slyly, hobbling down steps from the door into the street. Oh, okay. Old, hobbling woman is no match for your speed. Okay. So we know she's old, so that does rule out the younger women, I think, in that case. There's also no duplicates for some of those women. But there is an old lady at the back of the image next to the knight. So is it possible that we've been tricked into assuming that a hag witch looks a certain way when actually, well, we know there's supposed to be multiples, so if it was the old lady who was sort of by the knight at the back, she's just on her own and there's no multiples of her, so that wouldn't make sense. Okay. How many times has she split? The old woman isn't the only one duplicated in the image. Or maybe she is. I may be looking at the jester guy the wrong way. Yeah, the jester, because he's got a little stick with his own head on the end of the stick. So I think that's a good little red herring. I don't think I see anybody else duplicated. No, I don't. Right. I'm going to say let's go with, for now, the 13. We'll say it's 13, and then if we struggle later on, this is one that's got a question mark next to it. We do think it's too easy. Maybe we'll need to come back and try again. I think that, Jez, you think the red herring was one of those fish from it? Yeah, absolutely. And are we confident we've got it? I don't know. We got flies, so hopefully we got it. Prestige, just going. You're saying that you're not counting the one below. You're not counting the one below the woman in blue because of the receding hairline. No, I agree. I'm not counting that lady either because I don't think that she doesn't look quite enough like the rest to me. Let's just do one final count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I'm still getting 13. So, yeah, I think we go with that. Okay. On to the dam. 4 sages tried, none could succeed in holding back the River Ede. The various attempts to dam the Ede have all been unsuccessful. The force of the great spring floods had destroyed every barrier yet constructed. Some of the kingdom's greatest minds in engineering, agriculture, and even wizardry have been set to work on preventing the annual floods, which continually ruined otherwise fertile cropland. All have failed to stem the flow of the great river. When you arrive at the site of the newly constructed dam, a heated argument is taking place between a group of elderly scholars. You join them to see whether you can be of help. The theory is sound. Rather than cutting off entirely the river's flow, their dam is designed to control it. Water flows from the river into a complex series of pipes through 8 tap valves. Thus, more or less water will flow according to how the taps are set. But alas, the scholars have lost their master plan. Without dismantling the dam, they cannot know how their taps are set, and thus they may not control the river's flow. Studying the present flow of water, you are able to deduce that there are 3 of the valves which must be turned off to stop the flow entirely. Which valves will you choose? What is the sum of the numbers of the open valves? Okay. Good grief. So looking at this, this is going to be a tricky one. We've got this very complex dam, and in the dam there are loads of pipes, and the pipes all lead back up to a couple of valves. 8 valves total, each one numbered from 1 to 8, and turning off those valves presumably stops the flow of water coming out of the lower sort of pipe exits, I guess, apertures or whatever. The challenge we're going to have with this one is that multiple pipes flow into some of the valves, and obviously there's lots of complex interactions here. Oh boy. Jez, you're saying we should start at the bottom and work our way back. Oh bloody hell, I remember plumbing looking like this when I was a kid in the 80s. Yeah, I think we need to shut off all of the water by only closing 3 valves. So all of the water that's flowing down to the bottom is coming from just 3 of the 8 valves up at the top, and then we add up those 3 together, and that will give us the total amount that we need to that tells us what the number is that we're going to take away from this particular challenge. So yeah, I mean, I guess if we start from the bottom, you end up with 2 options, but presumably can eliminate by looking at them. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess the thing to do would be to start with the second pipe, the exit for the second pipe, and then see how that flows up. But even just looking at this, when you oh, I've accidentally skipped it over. Forgive me. Oh. And then I've turned it off. Where are we? There we go. So looking at this, if you follow the first pipe that's actually got water flowing out of it, if you follow that up, it goes into like a tank. And then that tank has like loads of stuff connected to it. So you'd have to turn off all of the valves that flow into that tank. So that includes 3 and 4. Yeah, you'd have to turn off 4. You'd have to turn off 3. You'd have to turn off 2. And that can't be the answer straight away. So that turns off 3. Oh my gosh. Well, this one's starting to fry my brain already. Does it go behind the tank? Yeah, it might do actually, and that would make it easier, because otherwise you'd be struggling with that instantly. Is like all of these need to be like turned off. If it goes behind the tank, flows up behind the tank, then that would mean that it goes up to numbers 2 and 3. So you'd still need to turn off 2 separate valves in order to stop that first flow. And then looking at the second one, that flows all the way up to 4. And then tracing the third one, that goes up to 8. Yeah, okay, so this is a challenge then. So, Ronnie, you're saying, my question is, if the goal is to shut off the water, don't you just close all the valves and the sum would be 0? Yes, except in the actual, in the challenge, studying the present flow of the water, you are able to deduce that only 3 of the valves must be turned off to stop the flow entirely. Which valves will you choose? So it seems like the intention here is that we are only supposed to turn off 3 valves, which I think is going to be it's going to be hard to work out. Because of the interactions between them up at the top, so they flow into one another. Oh, but they don't. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to go back. Water flows from the room in a complex series of pipes. Scholars have lost their master plan. They don't know how their taps are set. So it could be that water's not actually flowing from all of the pipes. Okay. Oh wait. There are two pipes down at the bottom that don't have water coming out of them. So yes, we can take a look at those and then use those to reverse engineer which of the pipes might not actually be open. Steve, did I mention how much I hate puzzles? Yeah, I think that's fair. And Jez, this is what happens with water privatization. Yeah, no doubt about it. We should get taxpayers to come in and sort out which pipes need turning off. Now that it's been built. Okay. I wonder, can we use the pipes that are not? There's no water flowing from. The bottom pipes 1 and 3. So we can use those to rule some out. Let's take a look. Let's follow the flow of that. So, first one, does that loop back on itself? It does. That would be going to number 1. Yeah. So I think pipe number 1 is not open. And then I'm going to follow the second flow. See where that takes us. That could be number 5. Yeah, number 5. So 1 and 5. 1 and 5, I think. So Prestige P, you're saying that so 5 seems dry, which I agree with, and then you're saying that you think 1 and 2 are both dry. Is that because of the connection to the first output hole, I guess? Let's follow that flow again. Up it goes, up it goes. No, you're right. You're quite right. 1 and 2 can't be open because water would be coming out of the first hole if it were. Samuel, the top right wizard is you right now, just with more eye strain. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know on this one, guys. I think it was saying 1 and 2 and 5 are not active. So that means we only need to turn off either of 3, 4, 6, 7, or 8. And we can do that by following these ones again. Let's have another look. So the first one that's got water coming out of it, let's follow this. It goes up behind the pipe, up and around. So that means 3 is definitely flowing water. Follow the next one up. 4 is definitely flowing water. Yeah, that's 4 again. Eight. Oh dear. 7. Okay, so I'm just following these through to see if I can work out, and that comes to 4 again, where the water is coming from. Oh, Martha's on the move. She's just jumped up. She's decided she wants to come and get involved, to see what she can do to help. What's okay? You can't sit on top of my book. I know you're sorry, guys. You can't actually see Martha here, but she's trying to sit on top of the Tasks of Tantalon to solve it. I think. Hello. Good girl. We've got some people who are working out. 1 must be turned off. 1 flows to 6 and 6. And 6 is running. Prestige 2 would flow into the first output hole if you follow all its paths. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So we're saying 2 is off. I think we said 5 is off. I wonder if we can rule out. So, Jez, cats know all about plumbing. Come on, Martha. Yeah, she's just come from a little sleep, so I'm not sure that the first thing she's going to want to do is get deep into some of this weird plumbing nonsense. Yeah, okay, girl. What do you have? You got a solution for me? Can you help me solve this? Nope. Doesn't seem too interested, I'm afraid. Samuel, I think we can all agree that the engineers that design this dam need to rethink their career choices. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you put wizards in charge of water flow and engineers and pipes and stuff. I don't think this is really their first port of call. I mean, we all remember what Mickey did when he was the apprentice, right? He was similar kind of problem with water flows, I think. So I am struggling here because, obviously by design, the way they've put this together is that there's multiple, when you get up to the top with the valves, there are multiple flows coming out of some of these different pipes. And I just followed a load of them up, and it seems to me like there are too many pipes still flowing water in order to, like, so, and we can only close 3. So I'm not sure how we can do that without the flow being too much. Let's take another one. I'm going to go from the other side, right? So I'm going to go from the rightmost water pipe where water's flowing out. I'm going to follow that up, and that takes me to valve number 6 and to valve number 7, which would imply then that 6 and 7 need to be turned off. Let's take a look at the second one. Where's the water flowing from that? That comes out of that tank. That takes you up to 3 and 4. Okay, so that doesn't help. I'll follow the third one up. That takes me to 3 and 4 again. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit. I think this one's gonna. I don't know. This might just require some sitting down and just like mapping it back and then charting out, like literally writing down for each one of these. Okay, this pipe is going to flow to this one. This pipe is going to flow to this one, which I think might just take a load of silent reflection. Thank you, Martha. And looking at Okay. Ronnie. Yeah, I mean the cats definitely do know for sure. The only control valve for flow 4 is the valve for and 4 is running. So you're pretty sure both 1 and 4 are required. Jez, it's really plumbing the depths of my brain. Yeah, I think this one is proving the challenge. And I'm thinking, so I wonder if I might take a break now off of the back of this one. Because I think this has been interesting, and it's been fun to sort of play around with and sort of explore. I'm conscious that we were never going to get too far through today. I was hoping to run a little bit longer, but I wonder if I might take us a break right now and then try and find a time over the next week or two, or it might be after that, given it's Christmas coming up, but to come back and sit down and do some more of these. I mean, how have you guys found, just generally? I know it's not been the longest stream, and we've not made that much progress. We've made some progress though, which is great. But how are you guys? Was this enjoyable? Was this worth spending some time sort of chilling out and taking a look at and telling the story of the Tasks of Tantalon? Has it been a revelatory experience? You feeling it? I've had fun. I think it's been good. And yeah, I think it's probably yeah. My brain is starting to hurt. I'm starting to feel it for sure, Jazz. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I think it's been good to do it, sort of get people on. I'm glad there's a few people who've got their own copies as well and been able to sort of challenge it. But yeah, I think then why don't we call it there? Let's all go and cool down our brains for a minute. I'm going to tackle this one with a pen and paper, I think, because that's the only way I can imagine actually getting this done. Because I think that will be really helpful. And then I'm going to try and find another slot for us to come back and then just do some more of this, and see if we can sort of progress with a couple more of these challenges and move forward. But I think it's been really fun. I think having a few people, a few ideas, sharing some stuff there, I think that's been great. Steve, you mentioned that I should do some of my army painting on stream. I think that's a good shout, actually. I might take a look at that. What I want to do for this kind of thing, and for other streams as well, is actually have a second camera set up so that I can actually film like what I'm working on. I think that would be really helpful. So I'm going to take a look at that. And Jez, you're saying a few people do Fighting Fantasies books on stream. Doing a Sorcery or Lone Wolf one would be great, but more of this first. Yeah, I think that's a good shout, actually. I think that could be really fun. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I think I have been convinced that there's definitely some fun to be had in getting on stream and doing this and spending a bit of time with this. So I think I'm going to try and find ways to do some more of this stuff. So keep an eye out on my social media, and I will share more about when I'm able to find a slot to do it. But I think for now, let's call it there. I think we've achieved a couple. We've solved, or we've got numbers for 3 of the Tasks of Tantalon. So we've done a quarter of the tasks. We've still got loads more to do, but we'll do those next time. In the meantime, have a great Christmas break. I wish you all a Merry Christmas, and I will see you very soon. Thanks so much for joining me. It's been great fun. All right, guys. See you now. Bye.